Hello, thank you for joining me again. Today I would like to talk to you about a subject that I haven't found to be discussed very much on YouTube, or maybe I just haven't found the right videos. But last summer I was researching for my novel while I was still writing for my novel. I was almost finished with it though. I think it was like July or August when I found this holistic place nearby the city I live, and we went there a few times. Well, I went there for like a free session, and then I found out about this lady, Hazel Grove, it's her name, who does all sorts of like session, among which she does past life regression. And I was always interested in like other lives, like hypnosis and all stuff like that. If you've read my debut novel, I have like the subject of hypnosis is used in the novel. So I was kind of researching this thing, although I was almost finished with my debut novel by the time I found this lady. But I was still, I wanted to incorporate some stuff into my novel. So, and I was also curious for myself. And I booked a session. I think it was like £50 or something like that. And it was like 2 hours long, I think, something like that. So I booked this session with a lady. She's a very interesting lady. I like her look as well. Like she has really long hair and it's natural grey hair with like dark hair. It looks very interesting, and she has lots of tattoos and stuff. But I like her voice. She has a really soothing voice, so she was a really suitable. She was a suitable person to do this kind of session, because I'm wary of doing like hypnosis. I've never done hypnosis, which may be weird because I wrote about it in my book. But yeah, I'm always like, oh, I don't really want to go on the hypnosis. Who knows what the person's going to make me do? You have to have a very a good relationship with the person who's doing whatever it's doing with you, with your mind, whatever is going in there, and whatever they're doing. So for some reason I felt really close to this person in a way, this lady, and she just felt like a genuine person who wants to help people. So I booked, as I mentioned, a session with her, and I did this past life regression called, and basically in this session I feel like we explored my past lives. And those of you who don't believe in stuff like that, it's fine, you don't have to believe. But I think, my personal opinion, I think you would, no matter if you believe in this, in like past lives or like reincarnation and stuff like that, I still think it's an interesting experience to have. For me it was very strange in a way, because being a writer, creative mind, I was constantly thinking, and while I was in the session I was thinking about all these things, like, oh, what if I'm imagining, what if it's my mind trying to make up a scenario to write another story. So I'm curious to find out what other kinds of people would like take from this sort of experience. So to tell you about the experience itself, like when I went there, and she like I think she began like, she burned some sage, like, and I was standing up, and then she walked around me, and she like did the thing with the sage to like spread the smell and stuff. I can't smell very well. If you don't know, I have a condition, my nose is like blocked, like my nostrils are blocked, so I can't smell very well. So I wouldn't say that thing was very useful for me necessarily, but I think it induced a certain feeling, and it just made me more comfortable. And then, so yeah, for those of you who have a powerful sense of smell, that might help much more than help me. But I still think my session was very successful, like I'll tell you about it. So, and then I laid on this bed, like therapy bed, I suppose you'd call it. And then she covered me with blankets up to my neck. And I was really warm, like my feet, my hands were under covers. But it was very pleasant. And she started relaxing my muscles. I was feeling very, I don't know, I haven't thought about this in a while, so I'm sorry if this is going to be a very long video. But yeah, she started relaxing my muscles, and to the point that I wasn't really, I mean, I was aware that I have a body, but I was just feeling, I had this feeling of floating in a way. So she helped me relax, and then as far as I remember, she kind of made me imagine that I was going down the stairs, I think, not up, I can't remember exactly, but like there were some stairs and there was this door, and I think she said like there's 3 doors, and I can pick whichever I like and then come back to the other 2, and I might get all these experiences like in the wrong order, but I felt like I experienced quite a few lives. It was very strange, and for as long as I know myself, like I had this feeling of being male and female, which maybe may sound strange to some people because as you can tell I'm a female, but yeah, I like when I was young I loved to play football. Now I'm not that much interested in football, but that's a different subject. But yeah, I was very boyish when I was young, was still like girly. Yeah, I mean I'm not really into shopping or whatever like most girls are, I suppose. I don't know, I just have like boyish things. So yeah, that sounds strange, I have boyish things. But yeah, like I have male attributes, so I always felt like I'm both male and female. I'm not like, oh yeah, I'm just a woman and that's it. That's why I get a bit like, when I hear about feminist things, I get annoyed, because it's like, and I mean, I don't get annoyed, but there's all this, oh, it's just like women, and I think we should all be united and be nice to one another. So it's just like, that sounded really bad, like I'm against women or something. I'm not. It's just what I meant is like, I like seeing all perspectives, all sorts of, and I don't want to be like just with a certain gender or stuff like that. We're all in this together, so we should all approach life and be together. Anyway, this went to a certain direction, a different direction. As I was saying, I have feelings of being male and female, and in these lives that I experienced, it was very strange, because obviously I've never done something like this before. I was really confused in a way, because I wasn't sure, like, am I actually experiencing this? Have these things actually happened, or it's just my mind trying to make up a story? But as I was saying, I think the first image that came to my mind when she told me like to open my mind and see where I tell her where I am, and she was saying like, people experience this sort of thing differently. Like some people have visual images, some people have like the smells of the place they are in, some others they just hear stuff. For me it was more visual, so, and which makes sense because I'm quite a visual person. So the first image I had, I felt like I was 10, like quite young, and I was in this bed, and I had the image of this window and light coming through the window, and I was just looking through the window outside. I can't really tell what was outside, maybe a field or something like that, but I just remember like this old window, lots of little windows in one big window, and it was quite dark in the room, but that light from the window, it just made me feel nice, and it makes like all of these images that I've had, it makes sense, because I've loved like nature and natural light and stuff like that. It made me feel comfortable. So yeah, it just felt like me. So and then she was just telling me, guiding me, like, oh, move a year further in your life, where are you, tell me. And I had another image of being by the river. So I was on a field, and I was seeing these. I had this feeling of having people around me, yet I was alone. I mean, I wasn't alone. I was feeling lonely in a way, but like I was surrounded by maybe childhood friends and stuff like that by a river, and I had a feeling of hearing them, and like they were giggling and like playfulness and stuff like that. And I was writing in a notebook, I remember that. And then it was also strange because I felt like I was jumping through time and lives in a way. I know I mentioned like 3 doors at the beginning, but yeah, I don't know, it was just like, she said I will experience 3 lives, but I felt like I experienced more than that, more like 5 or something. So yeah, and after I was on that field, and I was like maybe 12 or 14, I had this image of this woman on a field, and she had like dark hair, really long dark hair, and she was dressed in white, and I felt like I was her. And yeah, she was the lady who was doing the session, Hazel Grove. She was guiding me. She was asking me, what kind of dress is it? And again, I was confused because I wasn't sure if I was like seeing this thing, or seeing this actual thing that happened, this image, or I was imagining myself and putting words into like what sort of dress I would like to wear. But I don't know, it felt very vivid, so I didn't feel like I was imagining it or putting words into it. I was just like designing my own scenes. It felt like it happened, and yeah. And then, so yeah, I was wearing this long, like Victorian, I mean not Victorian because I'm probably going to get the style wrong. It just felt like a really nice white dress, like nice color, and like really long gown, but like fitted on the body. And I was just like walking through this barley field. It felt like the English countryside. There were many trees around, but it was like a wide field, and it was like golden and stuff. And then the next image I had, it was that I remember. I'm sure if like the way we went through the stages was a bit different, but I'm just telling you the images I remember because those stuck with me. Then I was at a desk in a like dark room, and it felt like I was in a library, but like personal library, like home library. And again, I felt like I was in my nightgown, and I was at my desk. I had like black hair, and like white face, and again, as I said, I was leaning onto this desk and looking at these papers, writing. I was very concentrated. It felt like really important stuff. I'm not sure if it was like literature I was writing, or like something else like paperwork. It felt more like literature, but it was quite organized in a way. I mean, I don't know how to explain it. It's just, yeah, it felt like I was doing something creative, yet I don't know, it felt yeah, it didn't feel any disarray or anything. Although I was like as if I've woken up in the middle of the night, like my hair was disheveled and stuff. And then I had this image of being on a field again, and I was like laying in this grass, and I was looking at this house in the distance. I was again in the countryside, and I was like on this hill, laying on the grass, and again the grass was kind of golden, not like green, like vivid green. It was just very like, I don't know, the atmosphere was very pleasant. And I was looking down at this house, and I remember seeing what I was wearing, and it was like this sort of like black trousers, and I had like those things you call in like you know in the old detective movies, you have those straps that men wear tied to the pants, and I had like a white shirt, and I felt like I had a hat. And yeah, as you can tell, it felt like I was quite like I felt like I was a male, and it was a bit strange because I went from being a female straight to like being male, and it was just like, I mean, I felt female, but then I was in the body of a male, which is very strange. And then I walked down and I went to this house, and I was in this house, and there was like, it felt like a family gathering. And I remember feeling happy, but at the same time there was this nervousness. And I remember telling the lady, because she was guiding me, and I was like, what is it? Is it like a wedding? And what is it? Like, why are we all gathered there? Because it felt like there was this big man and there was actually like two women, and I was sitting on a chair, and there was another woman sitting next to me, and she was like dark haired and stuff. And I remember feeling that it was like I was proposing to her, or like letting my family know that we're getting married or something. But then at the same time it felt like it was the period of the war, like as if I was getting married and at the same time I was getting ready to go to war. Like, not literally, actually going to the actual war. And yeah, it was very, I don't know if it's, again, I was thinking, oh, what if I'm like thinking, because I like novels about war and being in love and stuff like that. So I was like, what if I'm imagining this stuff? But it felt so real, like even the clothes and stuff. Yeah. Then I had another another image of this man going like as if he was on a long hallway, and there were again a lots of windows, like old stylish windows, and I was walking on this hallway, and I was in a rush. I was getting some like a old serviette with papers, and I remember walking into this like courtroom, I suppose it was, and there was some sort of trial there, and I felt like I was a lawyer. But yeah, it was very strange because at that time I was watching How to Get Away with Murder. So I was thinking, oh, maybe I'm like, you know, when you have a dream and you're kind of like putting people from your life, people from that you see on TV, put them in your dream. And I was thinking, oh, maybe I'm just doing that. Because, yeah, but it was very strange. But yeah, anyway, I had that image, like I was a lawyer and I was defending someone. I was very, I don't know, it felt really purposeful that I was being there and was doing something. And then I had this image, oh yeah, and I was like a man wearing a hat. Again, I was a man, but I was feeling quite gentle at the same time, although I was like a lawyer. So yeah, I felt like I was a man in that life, but had like very female feelings and stuff. And then I had this image, again, of this older man waiting under a pergola, and it's strange because I love pergolas. Yeah, it felt like he was in a park, and there was like this pergola, and like he was sitting on a bench, and then he was waiting for someone, and there was this this young lady, maybe she was 30, she was blonde, and he was very happy to see her. And I remember wearing a cane, and I was just looking at her, and I was so filled with love, and it was like fatherly love, not like romantic love. And it's just like a very nice feeling. But yeah, that's what I remember. I remember us holding hands and stuff like that, but like fatherly